Welcome to the COMC Community Spotlight Show. It's presented by the great folks at Central Ozarks Medical Center, where your health is their mission. And we've got our friends back with us again. Lake royalty, really. It is Peter and Susan Brown from the Kopler-Brown family. Your dad, Susan, Harold Kopler, HK, started with the Four Seasons, the Lodge of the Four Seasons, built that, and then went on to develop at least 7,200 more acres with Horseshoe Bend and Shawnee Bend. All right, so want to get the stories behind that on our show today, if you guys are good with that. By the way, you have a book about the family history here at the lake. It's called Dreams Realized, and it's got these stories in there, a lot of them anyway, and pictures too. Can people buy this book?
Yes.
You gave this to me. I mean, it's like greatness, right? But you do sell this.
Yes, after August 1st, it will be available at Stonecrest.
Okay.
And the Porta Cima at the golf shop.
Okay. It's beautiful. If you haven't been there, I went and met them over there a couple of weeks back. That's a beautiful place over there in Porta Cima. Okay, so let's get some of these stories behind how it all came about. So your dad, Harold, started here at the lake. His friend, the mayor of St. Louis, had a vacation home here, said to Harold, hey, you might think about developing a lodge there at the Lake of the Ozarks. And so your dad did, right? On 100 acres, he builds the Lodge of Four Seasons and all that stuff. And then he thinks about expanding here at the lake. And there was 7,200 acres of land that the Wilmore family owned, the Wilmore Lodge, that family, but they were looking to sell it. And HK was interested in this, right? Mm-hmm. So how did he get his hands on it? Because I understand, like, Anheuser-Busch wanted this land too. And how did he get it instead of Anheuser-Busch?
Well, it's an interesting story because the first bid was actually a closed bid from just Anheuser-Busch for the property. And the Wilmore family, they actually all lived in St. Louis, and one of the son-in-laws of the original Cy Wilmore was actually a lawyer. And so he knew people at Anheuser-Busch and decided that they'd do a closed bid. So they gave an offer of the property, and they rejected the offer.
Okay.
And then they came back and they said, okay, now we're going to open it up for other parties. And so Susie's dad heard about this and said, let's find out a little bit about what this is all about.
Yeah.
And he says, I know where this place is going, and I think that it could be an opportunity. So anyways, he decided to do a bid, and he went to a brother-in-law of his who was another lawyer in St. Louis, and he said, he took a lot of advice from him, and he said, what are you going to pay for it? And he said, well, I'm going to pay blank, 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 whatever the number was.
Yeah.
And he said, well, if it's worth that, then put it up about 25% more.
Yeah.
And so that's what he did.
Okay.
And so then the bids went out, and guess what? He got the ground.
He got the 7,200 acres, by the way, which turned out to be what we know now as Horseshoe Bend and Shawnee Bend, Porta Cima. I mean, this was some huge development, land that, but they were really smart in the way they got it. I was reading in the book that they kind of faked Anheuser-Busch out, making them think their bid was going to be lower than it actually was.
Yeah, that's
and they got
great story.
some other funding on the side that Anheuser-Busch didn't know about, and kind of outsmarted them.
Yeah, well, his brother-in-law asked him, he said, can you come up with half of the amount that you want? He said, yes, I can. He said, well, then I will go to the bank, the chairman of the First National Bank in St. Louis, who was a very close friend of August Busch III, who was the president of Anheuser-Busch at the time, who had bid originally on the property. And he said, I will tell him that you need to borrow $1 million for the property. And he said, then he will think that that's the price that we're going to pay.
Faked him out.
Faked him out because he had the other $1 million.
Yeah, that is such an amazing story. That is how you outbid Anheuser-Busch, right? So that was.
Well, you got to realize that was at the same time that August Busch III was doing Williamsburg, which is a theme park, a brewery, the whole works there, and 2 golf courses.
He had some money tied up in several places.
That was a little more important to him.
And there was no bad blood because HK, your dad, Harold, and the Busch family, I mean, they were friends over the years and helped develop each other's properties and stuff like that. But it's a hilarious behind-the-scenes story of how that all went down. We're going to continue to talk about all of this stuff and how Shawnee Bend finally got developed with Porta Cima and all that stuff. So don't go anywhere. Great stories. It's Peter and Susan K. Brown. So be sure to join us as we come back on the COMC Community Spotlight Show. At COMC, your health is our mission. Central Ozarks Medical Center offers 3 OBGYNs at the Osage Beach Clinic and 2 pediatricians with same-day appointments available. At COMC, our doors are open to everyone with 5 primary care locations conveniently located across the Ozarks. COMC for the best medical, dental, and behavioral health care. Get more info on how COMC can help you at centralozarks.org. COMC, where your health is our mission. Welcome back to the COMC Community Spotlight Show. Our friends Peter and Susan Kopler-Brown. So your dad, Harold Kopler, built the Four Seasons. That kind of started it all. He outbid Anheuser-Busch, really outsmarted Anheuser-Busch to get another 7,200 acres, which turned out to be Horseshoe Bend and Shawnee Bend. So Shawnee Bend was kind of the last domino to fall because it was on the other side of the lake, which in those days was really hard to get to, right? You didn't have the community bridge, which you guys helped bring into being, and we'll talk about that on another show. But you have this Shawnee Bend, you've got 3,600 acres or whatever it was over there, and there's a great picture in your book of Shawnee Bend before it was developed and then after it was developed, and a few years in between. But I guess there was a ferry going back and forth before the bridge. What was that ferry like?
Well, it was a ferry that actually originally was used at the end of Shawnee Bend.
Okay.
And it would go towards the Glazed Bridge, where the Glazed Bridge was. And it was just one season that was used, and the people that owned it wanted to get rid of it. So we decided we had some of that land over there in Shawnee Bend. We said, let's do a subdivision over there, and we'll have them lead the Lodge of the Four Seasons and just ferry them across, because it was only about a 10-minute ride from the lodge over to where we landed in Shawnee Bend.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, and so we started doing it that way, and we pretty much sold out that first subdivision.
Wow, with the ferry.
Yeah, with a ferry.
That's pretty amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of take the community bridge for granted now to get to that side of the lake, but there was a time where it was pretty inaccessible over there. A lot of obstacles in getting the community bridge built, which you guys played a big part in doing. One of the first things was you had to get an okay to put in a toll road, which there were none in Missouri, I don't think, at the time, right?
No, they didn't have a toll road bill.
How in the world did you talk them into that? How did you get that done?
Well, the first thing we did was you got to understand one thing. The whole Lake of the Ozarks, everybody wanted a bridge.
Yeah.
And the people on the west side really wanted it very badly. And the people on the other side, the east side of lake wanted to be able to get over to have other access to that area because it was about a 45-minute drive to get to that side of the lake. So anyways, we got a lot of community support is my point.
That helped.
And that helped a lot.
Yeah.
And so then we had a great lobbyist that worked for our company on different projects that we had. And so we went to, Joe Yeager was his name. We went to Joe Yeager and we said, Joe, we got to get a bill. And he said, well, I'll give it a shot. And so we went, our first try, John Ashcroft was the governor.
Yeah.
And there was a Democratic, Bob Griffin was the Democratic head of the House. And then the state senator from Sedalia was the president pro tem of the Senate. And they both supported it, but we didn't get it passed the first time. We went back for a second standing, and we got it passed.
Wow. Wow. It took some effort, took some time. Let me give you a timeline on the community bridge. You got that bill passed in 1990 for the toll road. The Bridge Corporation was formed in 92, so that took 2 years to put together. Construction started in 96, so there were 4 years in between the Bridge Corp and the construction starting at the community bridge. All this has taken time and then finally dedicated in 98. So it took about a decade, probably more than a decade, to get that bridge done.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you turned it over to MoDOT a few years ago, and there was a big ceremony for that. And for newbies at the lake like me, I had no idea all the hard work and sweat and tears that went into getting that thing done. That 10 years must have seemed like forever when you guys were trying to get that bridge built.
Well, there's so many tasks that you had to do. We had to get feasibility for that bridge and there were only 3 companies that did feasibilities for that size of a project. Because it was a $40 million project. And so we had to get the feasibility for it. So they did deals, and it was funny. We were coming back from Kansas City, and they were stopping all the cars that were going to the lake on Highway 52. So they were interviewing, where were you going? So we got stopped, and they said, where are you going? We said, we're going to the Lake of the Ozarks. And it was a part of that feasibility studies.
Wow. Good luck with that today, man. I mean, of course, that is kind of like going through Kingdom City is a bit of a traffic jam. Great story about how the bridge came about. And if it wasn't for that bridge, Porta Cima and the development that is over on the
villages and all that stuff
probably might not have happened because it would have been so difficult to get there. It's a very important thing. I've always wondered, Susan, we talk about your dad a lot, Harold Harold Kopler. Your mom, what kind of a lady was your mom? Marie, I mean, we don't talk about her very often. What kind of a lady was she?
She's a great lady, but she was opposite my dad. My dad was very, my mom was a little bit introverted. My dad was very extroverted.
Yeah, he was out
and
there.
His mind was always going, and she used to say, it's not easy living with a genius. But, you know, he would see things, and it just sparked something else. Wow. And he loved to build, but when he'd build, he'd do things that not just for now, but what it would be in 3 years. How can I make this work? To be something else.
But you know what? In order, the saying is, you know, great man has a great woman beside him or behind him or whatever. And that's one of those cases. HK probably couldn't have been as great as he was, the genius that he was, without Marie.
Correct.
Right? It's pretty, and I'm sure your story is very similar too. You guys could not have had the success without each other. Okay, so it's Peter and Susan Kopler-Brown talking about their family that has built and developed much of the Lake of the Ozarks. We're going to have them back for another show because there's still so many stories we haven't gotten to. So be sure to be watching for that. Thank you for joining us for the COMC Community Spotlight Show.
Take Lake TV with you wherever you go. Watch Lake TV on demand on YouTube, Roku, and Fire TV.